You're not sad. You're not anxious. You just feel nothing, like you're watching your own life through glass. And the worst part? You can't explain it to anyone, because emptiness doesn't have a story. It's just absence. Let me describe something. You wake up. You go through the motions. Work, scroll, eat, sleep. Nothing feels bad, but nothing feels good either. You're functional, productive even. But somewhere inside, there's a hollow space, like you're waiting for something that never comes. People ask if you're okay. You say yes, because technically you are. You're not crying, not breaking down. You're just not here. This isn't depression, at least not in the way most people think. Depression often comes with weight, sadness, despair, heaviness. This is different. This is what psychologists call anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, or more specifically, existential numbness, a state where your emotional system has quietly shut down, not because something is wrong with you, but because your brain is trying to protect you. Here's what most people get wrong. They think feeling empty means they're broken, that they've lost the ability to feel joy, that they're defective. But emptiness isn't a malfunction. It's a signal. Your nervous system is telling you something important. And once you understand what it's saying, everything changes. Because you're not numb by accident. You're numb on purpose. Let me explain how this works. Your brain has something called the reward system. It's governed by dopamine, a neurotransmitter that makes you want things. Not just want, anticipate. When you look forward to something, dopamine fires. When you achieve it, dopamine fires again. This is how motivation works. This is how meaning feels. But here's the problem. Modern life overstimulates this system. Constant notifications, instant gratification, endless novelty. Your brain gets flooded with dopamine hits that cost nothing. So it adapts. It downregulates. Think of it like this. If you live next to a train track, eventually you stop hearing the trains. Your brain turns down the volume to protect you from overwhelm. The same thing happens with dopamine. When everything triggers a small hit, nothing triggers a big one. Your reward system becomes desensitized, and that's when you start to feel empty. But there's a second layer. Psychologist Viktor Frankl called it existential vacuum, a state where life lacks purpose, not just pleasure. When your daily actions feel disconnected from any larger meaning, your brain disengages. It's not choosing apathy, it's conserving energy. Because meaning is metabolically expensive. Your brain won't invest in emotional engagement if it doesn't see a return. So how do you restore feeling? Not by forcing positivity, not by chasing more stimulation, but by recalibrating your nervous system. Here's how. 1. Create dopamine scarcity. Your brain needs contrast to feel again. Remove the background noise. Limit social media. Stop scrolling before bed. Let yourself be bored. Neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman calls this dopamine fasting, not in the trendy way, but in the biological sense. When you reduce constant low-level stimulation, your brain becomes sensitive again. Suddenly, small things matter. A conversation, a walk, a meal. The volume comes back up. 2. Engage in effortful pleasure. Passive consumption doesn't trigger deep reward. Your brain knows the difference between receiving pleasure and earning it. Cook a real meal. Don't order in. Play an instrument, badly even. Build something with your hands. These are what psychologists call active engagement behaviors. They require effort, attention, presence. And that's exactly what your reward system needs to wake up. Because dopamine isn't just about the outcome. It's about the process of moving towards something meaningful. 3. Reintroduce micro-meaning. You don't need a grand purpose. You need small, repeated acts of intention. Choose one thing each day that you do on purpose,
not because you have to, because you chose it. This is called agentic action in psychology. When you act with intention, even in tiny ways, your brain registers it as meaningful. You're no longer just reacting, you're authoring, and that restores a sense of self. 4. Sit with the silence. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Part of the emptiness is grief. Grief for the version of yourself that used to feel more. Grief for the world you thought you'd be living in. Don't rush past it. Neuropsychologist Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett says emotions need space to process. If you constantly distract yourself, the emptiness doesn't leave. It just lingers underneath. Sit with it, even for 5 minutes. Let it be there without fixing it. This is where integration begins. 5. Reconnect through the body. Your brain and body are not separate. When you feel numb, it's often because you've disconnected from physical sensation. Move slowly. Feel your breath. Cold showers, long walks, stretching. These aren't cliches. They're interoceptive practices. They help your brain reconnect to the felt sense of being alive. Because emotion is not just mental, it's embodied. And sometimes feeling comes back through the body first. Here's the mental model that ties it all together. Think of your emotional life like a river. When it's overstimulated, it floods. When it's dammed, it's dammed. Neither is flow. Flow requires banks, direction, movement. You're not trying to feel more, you're trying to feel real. And that means clearing the dam and letting the current return. Slowly, gently, with intention. You're not broken, you're recalibrating. The emptiness you feel isn't the end of feeling. It's the pause before something truer. Your brain is waiting, not for a big moment, but for small, honest ones. The kind you choose on purpose. The kind that remind you, you're still here, and here still matters.